What a human being does in his life practically none of it is really based upon truth. It's based upon various habits and behaviors that he has learned throughout his life. It's in the form of reactions. It's under the imprisonment of the mind. But it isn't based upon truth. All of the things that people are told and that they read and listen to about the various methodologies and trying to get this and that. Is there anything wrong with listening to that? No, there's nothing wrong with listening to it, but it isn't truth. And to say it isn't truth does not mean that it's all intentionally a lie. What it means is that it's fragments, it's bits and pieces. It isn't truth. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and broken stories and conceptualized phrases and norms and standards and trite rehashed sayings, and it isn't truth. Does a thing have value if it isn't truth?
We dominate.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
And of what value, particularly of what lasting value can it be if it isn't truth?
I feel good today. Guys, this is my one. This is my race. Call my shot. Calling my
Whether
shot.
it's something that one considers esoteric and philosophical,
Let's go.
or whether it's something that is immediate and acute
Cannot wait.
and on the most obviously and clearly practical level
Don't fall off. Let's get started. Come on.
in someone's life.
Let them know you're here.
Of what value is hearing something about that? Whether it is to progress in that thing or to achieve that thing or to get rid of something else or whatever it is that's desired. Of what value is it to hear something about that thing, anything, if it isn't true?
2 times around. Slow climb. One home.
How can a human
Big
being
climb. But let's not get lost yet, boys. Come on.
thrive without food?
No free rides.
Truth is the most rarefied element in the land of human beings. Because human beings have learned to live without it. And by learning and adapting in such a way as to live without food, then the only possibility is for a human being to go astray. And it doesn't mean that if a person is devoted to the truth that he'll never go astray, but that he will have quite a good chance of finding his way back. Not too long after he goes astray. But if there's no truth, if that isn't one's guiding light, if that isn't a central part of one's life, if that isn't the filter through which he approaches every aspect of his life that he cares about, what does he have? How can he go anywhere that isn't a lost place? How can he go anywhere that isn't a place of degradation? But the human is not he doesn't live in the land of truth. He lives in the land of that which the world has made him into. And by living in the land of that which the world has made him into, he moves further and further towards that which is manufactured and further and further away from that which is true. One could make the statement that why would a human being read or watch anything that isn't true? And what could one possibly be interested in as it relates to the things that he or she desires? If it does not center upon moving to the truth. Not convention, not opinion, not tradition, but truth. Truth is not something to convince a person to follow. The question that one may wish to ask himself is, of what value is it to follow anything else? If a thing is not true, of what relevance is it? It doesn't matter how nice it sounds. If it isn't true, Of what relevance is it to someone's life? Not abstractly, but directly for the things and about the things he cares about. No matter what the thing may be, and no matter how harsh the truth may or may not be about a particular topic or a situation or a person, of what relevance is niceness or harshness if it is true? Because if it is harsh, naturally, humans are not robots, and it may take some time to come to terms with it. Nothing is really an overnight phenomenon necessarily. But if one is not on the path of coming to terms with that, then what is he or she on the path toward? If something is the truth about a thing that a person desires, of what relevance is it if it takes 2 months or 10 years to imbibe that truth? Because in the end, the truth is going to be the thing that happens anyway. So where can a human being hide? The truth is not society. The truth isn't the world. The truth isn't going to knock on someone's door and try to make him believe concepts. That's the world's approach. That's the expert's approach. The sun doesn't ask you to believe in it. It doesn't ask you to. It doesn't sell you on its concept, the heat. Where will a human being go without the truth? And once again, about the immediate, acute, and practical things that are most relevant to him in his life. Not abstract things, but on the most practical level, about the problems that he has, about the things that he desires, the things that he wishes to attain, the things that he wishes to get away from, the things that he wishes to increase or lessen, whatever it may be. Every human being is living in that circumstance, literally from 1 hour to the next, for his entire life. And so without the companionship of the truth, without being armed with the truth, what does he have? Upon what is a thing, a pursuit, a journey, founded? if it is not founded upon the back of truth. One doesn't need to see truth itself. That's personal. But one does have desires. One does have pains. One does have things that he wishes to attain and things he wishes to no longer suffer from. That's relevant and practical and immediate to every human being's life. And if he is not armed in that treacherous, pervasive, ongoing pursuit, that journey, then what is he armed with? It is nothing but pure vulnerability to attack. If one thinks the truth is spiritual, he's just been brainwashed by the spiritual psychobabble. Truth is immediately practical. Because once again, what does one have without it? Where can one go without it? How can there not be inevitable suffering and turmoil and disappointment and uncertainty and emotional pain and fear and anxiety? How can those not be the inevitable outcomes on an ongoing basis? How can that be a surprise? If one is not on the path of truth, not spiritually, but in direct and an immediate relation to what they seek. If one does not have the truth, what does he have? On how-tos, this is one of those things that I don't think that the world will ever get over, because it's too ingrained. But there really isn't anything for which the how-to does not only become the first thing that the human being searches for, but it's the only thing. Everything isn't just centered around the how-to. Everything is the how-to. There is nothing else besides the how-to. And for as long as that will exist, which will be for a very, very long time, it may never end, to be honest. I don't think it'll ever end. It would be very surprising. As long as it exists, then the human being will not be able to discover the truth about anything, because the how-to will always get in the way of his discovering the truth. He will not be able to use his own ingenuity. He will not be able to use what's available to him in order to discover the truth. The how-to will be the blockage, the wall which stands between him and where he wants to go. The how-to will be the one step, which appears to be forward, but it really isn't, and then it's 7 steps backwards. So with a how-to, a person will just keep moving backwards and backwards. Obviously, I'm talking about non-mechanical things. But it isn't a matter of prevalence. It isn't a matter of its ubiquitousness. It's a matter of its depth. You cannot remove the patterns of grain from a block of wood. You can't remove smell or the fragrance from a flower. You can't separate those two things. Now, in those situations, there is a literal impossibility. In this case, it isn't a literal impossibility. One does not have to go towards how to, but it might as well be literal because that's how deeply ingrained it is. Somebody wants to become happy, which obviously everybody does, or wants to find peace, or wants to find whatever. And then he reads a book on how to become happy. And upon mentioning that, the person hearing that will say, well, what's wrong with that? Obviously, that's what I would do, is I would read a book on how to do it. If I don't know how to do it, obviously the person hasn't gotten there, so he reads a book on how to do it. And it's very, very logical. It makes sense. And that's what also helps to keep it deeply ingrained in the minds of human beings. But for someone to give you a method or a technique to become happy, someone's going to give you a method or a technique to mold a yarn. That's fine. And it isn't fine because that's proper or good or allowed or the rules. It's fine because that can work. This is how you hold the lawnmower. This is the direction in which you mow it. That makes sense. It is mechanical. But how to become happy? I mean, I could say, what are they going to tell you? But obviously they are telling you. They're telling you for your whole life. And the new books keep coming out every day. The new articles keep getting written. The new podcasts keep going on. And so after all the podcasts about happiness, after all the books that have been written on happiness, is anyone happy? So that isn't to say that someone shouldn't do it. That really is an examination for oneself. It doesn't work or not. And if someone in it, and if someone finds that he reads a book on how to become happy and he becomes happy, fine. It's fine. There's no law against that. But if something worked, then more and more things wouldn't have to keep coming out. And the world is just a place of creating more and more stuff. It's all about volume. It's all just creating more and more things. But it's never about the volume. It's about what's actually effective. It's actually of true value, meaning it has a lasting effect. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't matter if more of it comes out, and it's more of something which doesn't work. But why would you want more of something which doesn't work? If it works, then you'd want more of it. And quite honestly, if it worked, you wouldn't need more of it. It would work. But if it doesn't work, then you could say in the beginning that I need more because maybe the stuff that's trying to come out isn't the right stuff yet, and maybe as more comes out, maybe the right stuff will come out. And that's fine in the beginning. But this has been going on for centuries. This is at the beginning. It's been going on for centuries. So all the happiness stuff that was going to come out is already here. So then one has to decide, okay, well, did that work? So the how-to is a bottomless pit. And one doesn't really recover from it, because one can only recover from something if there's another option. There is no other option in society. There's no other option over there. There's no non-how-to book. There's no non-how-to speaker. There's no non-how-to guru. It just exists. If there was, then what would he say? He wouldn't say anything. There's no how-to. Because the person, he's the one doing the talking, and therefore he wants to give a how-to. And those who are doing the listening, they want to hear a how-to. If there's no how-to to give, and no how-to to get, then neither the speaker or the listener will show up. So everything goes away. So it's never about that if someone should stop looking at how-tos and someone should, no one should do anything. It's a matter of someone, a given human being, wants to examine what works and what does not work. And as pedestrian and as plain and basic as that may sound, it really is quite a gigantic leap for human beings because of the evidence. Humans always do things that don't work for their whole life. So obviously it must not be as pedestrian and as basic as it may sound, because if it was really as basic as it sounded, then people wouldn't be doing that. But if they are, then it can't really be basic. So the world, society, all of it is filled with things that do not work. That's why it's available in plenty. That's why it's overflowing in its availability. If it was something magnificently valuable, I mean, no one's giving away diamonds. So the things that are plentiful are the things that do not work. Human beings just like to hear things because they like the concept. It is thousand. And the speakers, they like to speak. They enjoy that if they give a how-to and then someone does the how-to and then they did the how-to and they can say, so-and-so told me how to do the how-to and I feel better now and thank you very much. And so and nothing is wrong with either of that. There's zero wrong with either of any of that. But it ends up, a reasonable person would not think that this is how it is, but this is how it is. Not because I say, but just look around. Look at your own self. Look at your neighbor and look around. That if something doesn't work, people will stop. Humans are not interested in what works. They are interested in following concepts. And because they are brainwashed with concepts from the time of youth, then the concept becomes their God. It doesn't matter if it works or not. As long as they follow the concept, as long as they can say, well, at least I tried. As long as they can say, well, at least I did the 6,000 how-to. You can't blame me for lack of effort. I worked hard. And all of that's fine. But what that really shows is the person then didn't really want to get there. Because if someone really wants to get somewhere and the how-to doesn't work, he grabs the how-to. Not because he should, but just because he does. So, if a lot of books and podcasts and media and speakers and conferences and institutions are being built around happiness, then no one's happy. Then sitting up in the sky looking down, one would, at a very basic level, say, well, something
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
is off. But no one says that something is off because no one's really interested in the offness. They're interested in just activity going on. People like action because they've been brainwashed with them. Don't think, do. Take action. Do. Practice this. Run for that. Do these 5 steps. Go follow him. Go do. Do the doesn't matter if it gets anywhere, but just they are given a pat on the back by society, and therefore they also give a pat on the back for themselves. But at least they followed the concept of doing something. At the very least, they can put that in their pocket. That I did something. It doesn't matter if it didn't work, but I did something. And that's fine. But that's how human beings think. They aren't interested in results. They aren't interested in any of it. That's a whole other dimension. This is what happens when human beings are brainwashed with concepts. This is what happens when concepts are created in society. Concepts are pie in the sky. All that matters is if it works. And if it works, it doesn't need to turn into a concept. Concepts are for book writing. Concepts are to have things that you can put a PhD on the end of it and then turn into a course and a degree for some. Because if it wasn't a concept, then you couldn't turn it into anything.
Whatever.
It has to become something. So you have to have a concept. You have to anoint it and adorn it and put it on the wall and in big letters and write a book about it. It has to. You have to develop a name for the concept. So the concept can become something. And then once it becomes something, then it means follow it. You follow the concept. It's like religion. See, everything in society is it's all false. It's all based upon things that have no meaning. It's all based upon things that have no relevance. It's based upon social ideas. It's based upon concepts that people were taught should be the way. It's based upon notions according to what sounds like.
Come on.
Everything is centered around those kind of things. The cosmetic, the sounding nice, the superfluousness, the superficialities. That's what everything is based upon. So, these words are not about having a human being stop following how to. Because that is an attempt to try to make someone do something, and then that turns into a concept in itself. All the gurus and the speakers and the authors and everyone else, everyone just has a new thing to kind of do. And every new thing is a new thing for you to do. It's a new way to attach a piece of string to your already strung up life.
Bottles. Bottles.
It's the attempt to create more marionettes. So if my intent is to make you not seek how-tos, then I would hang up right now. Because I have no interest in making you not seek how-tos, because if you don't seek how-tos, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm talking because I enjoy speaking your truth.
Bottles. Bottles.
So the how-tos are, amongst other concepts, one of the foundations of all aspects of society, of academics, of learning, of self-help, of spirituality, of anything. There's nothing in which the how-to isn't one of the major pillars and foundations. So the things that sometimes it takes the least of is what humans don't really bring. It doesn't require a lot. But my saying it doesn't require a lot, it would be a mistake to construe that as an attempt to make you bring it just because it doesn't require a lot. I have no interest in having you bring anything or change anything. Because like I said, it doesn't have any interest in it. Well, things that don't really require a lot are what human beings tend to avoid. So it doesn't require a lot, for instance, that if someone says do a how-to on how to become happy or whatever the non-mechanical thing is, and either it works in a very fleeting fashion or it doesn't happen at all. It doesn't require a lot for a human being to say, did that work? Did that work? Did it pan out? But the human doesn't do that. And everyone knows that the human doesn't do that because this is what's going on all the time. That's how you know. And the person listening to this becomes self-present. There's no one listening to this who isn't guilty of that. And I don't mean to use the word guilty in any derogatory fashion. There's no human being who's listening to this that doesn't do that. And that goes back to why? Because, and that's proof, not because of philosophy, but concrete evidence by opening your two eyes and looking at your own life and outside, and takes about maybe 6.5 seconds to see that human beings are not interested in what works. They are interested in being good concept followers. Because that's what they get appreciated for, either by somebody else or by themselves. But they were good little boys and girls, and they followed the concept. Doesn't matter to them. That isn't the point. The concept isn't whether it works. The concept is, did you do it or not? That's the concept. And so if they did it, they get a sense of good feeling from it. But at least I tried. But they're not trying, which isn't wrong. Trying is not better than not. But that's fine. I mean, that's reasonable. I think those who say that I say don't follow prescriptions, they don't really listen to the message. Because it really isn't even a message. There's no message. It's a non-message. I am making a simple statement of fact that human beings follow how-tos, and despite them not getting them somewhere, they keep doing them. Therefore, and after all that, they then ask for more how-tos. And that isn't wrong. But the point is that they never examine did the how-to work. There's no opinion there. That's just fact. And just because it's fact doesn't mean that something needs to be done. Nothing needs to be done. I'm just making a fact. Making a statement of fact. So for someone to say that I want people not to follow prescriptions, in some ways they give me too much credit because they think I care to get across that message. I don't have any message to get across. I love the truth. For whatever reason. Human beings don't do anything for me. But how-tos are an addiction, a behavior pattern, and a incredibly deep-seated element within the very fabric of the human psyche, which the vast majority of humans will never even be introduced to the fact that they're doing that. They would never even forget, like, whether they should follow prescription or not. They will never even, for their entire life, the vast majority of human beings, for their entire life, will never even hear anything about prescriptions and how-tos. They will always be following them. They'll never even know that there's, maybe that's something to look at.
You tweeted that governments are oppressive regimes and the mind is an oppressive regime. And there are rarefied truths that provide a human freedom from both. Now, I know this is not the forum to get really into those rarefied truths, but from how I see it, my question is related to the way governments are oppressive regimes is by taxation. Is there a truth that can free a person of? I know I can't say free a person of taxation because that would be illegal. But what exactly do you mean by freedom from government in this sense?
I can tell. I had a question related to a tweet from a couple months ago. He posted saying that the destination creates the avenue. And the question I have about that is there an ultimate destination, or do things more like going from climbing one mountain peak and then discovering the next higher mountain peak, sort of jumping from one lily pad to another?
When do I change what I believe to be true? Like, when does that?
Hello, Kabil. I want to genuinely thank you from the heart of my heart for what you share through podcasts, books. Your work is of tremendous value. My question is, in the past, at some time, I was dreaming of being able to achieve some things like for example, being capable of making big returns in the stock market, or talking to a girl and seduce her at will, like making her do anything I want. And now that I am capable to do all these things and more, I just lost the drive to do it.
I just lost the drive.
Thank you.
Thank you for your words.
Hello, Kapil. Thank you for all the work you do. I know the type of person you are. It doesn't matter if I like it or not, or if it has affected me, but I do thank you for your work. My question was about comedians. What value do you see in comedians? I guess my question is, do comedians tell the truth in a way that couldn't be digested directly? Because it seems comedians tell the truth.
Thanks for your words.
Hi, Dr. The world and how grim I see it to be. And your response was that the world has always been the world. And some of your tweets lead me to believe that perhaps you feel that, and I'm just wondering whether we truly face a more perilous world at the moment than...
An insincere question. Do you know why it's insincere?
No.
What the hell do you care about the world? Have you reached worries and your anxieties and have you reached that place?
No.
So I don't understand why you're worried about the world and if it's a worse place or not. Or, you're talking about, is the water more muddy than it usually is? Maybe we can add some cleaning drops to it to clean the water. What are you talking about? I don't understand the question. Your house is on fire, and you're worried about what's objects 6,000 miles away and wondering if they're oval or round.
Is it then...
Come on.
I don't know how you could even have a response to that. But
why do human beings seek false concepts like happiness instead of looking for something permanent like arrival? Thank you.
So why do you?
I don't know.
So then what do you care?
I've read all of your books.
What do you care what human beings do and don't do? They're always, I don't know how human beings, what the quote human beings end quote, you're not, you have your own life. So I don't know why you would ask a question about quote human beings. You have your own life, and I'm sure you have problems like all human beings, right? And
yes.
So why do you ask Trivial Pursuit? Why are you playing Monopoly over here? It's not a chess game. It's not a board game. This is not, this is not like Comedy Row. Why do you care about human beings? It's your own life. But that's where all your that's where all your problems are. That's where everyone's problems are. So every single human being is beset by an enormous number of problems, and they're avoiding all those by seeking the world and what does the world do and what are the human beings and how can we all sing Kumbaya? It's just this blinders. People like to wear blinders and just talk into a dark room to themselves about nonsense. It's talk about something. Ask about something relevant.
Hello, Kapil. My question is, when examining where a certain fear comes from, for instance, the fear of embarrassment or public speaking.
Hello, Kapil. Thank you for doing this. this. My question is, why is it that I'm not serious? I mean, I become serious for a week or 15 days and then I don't know what to do. Can you please guide me or say something to this?
Well, no one's really serious. I mean, if we're not being serious. But I think the thing to note is that you live in a world in which there's no value for seriousness. You live in a world in which you've essentially been congratulated for not being serious. So everything that's out there in the world, from the books to the gurus to the speakers to the whatever, everything is unserious. So why wouldn't you become that way? And quite frankly, the more serious that you become, the less avenues that you have available to you in the world. So the more isolated you're going to become, because there's a great amount of material that's available for unserious people, which is all for the masses, and that's created by the masses. I mean, the masses are the masses who consume, but the masses are also the masses who are the speakers and the gurus and the authors. They're all the masses too. They're just talk from the other side of the desk, so to speak. So no one's serious because you've never been put in a position to be serious. Now, there's a DNA thing, and very, very, very few people who are serious are that way naturally. They're just kind of made that way. But if that isn't how one is made, then he's gonna succumb to the world, and that's just what without being explicitly taught that's what you've been taught. All your friends are unserious. All the members of your family are unserious. Every human being that you've ever met in your life is unserious. Every book that you've ever read is unserious. Every TV program that you watch is unserious. Every motivational speaker you listen to is unserious. Every guru, unseriousness is in your veins, not because of by birth, but because it's just because of the ocean in which.
Day 61.